When I was 19, I found myself pregnant after a one-night stand. The father, Aiden, was supportive right from the start, and although we never pursued a romantic relationship, we became incredibly close friends. Tragically, when I was 8 months pregnant, Aiden passed away in a car accident. His death devastated me, as well as his family, and I still carry the pain of knowing he never got to meet our son, Brady. Despite their grief, Aiden's family has been a significant presence in Brady's life since his birth. They've always welcomed me with open arms, involving themselves in birthday parties and celebrations, making me feel like part of their family. As Brady grew, I eventually began dating again, with Aiden's parents, Michelle and Dan, encouraging me to pursue my own happiness. They even stepped in to babysit Brady occasionally, allowing me to go on dates. From the outset, I made it clear to Justin, whom I eventually married, that Aiden's family would always play a vital role in our lives, especially for Brady's sake. Justin embraced this, and their bond grew quickly. When Justin proposed adopting Brady, both Brady and I were thrilled. However, Dan and Michelle's reaction was unexpected. They expressed their displeasure, arguing against the adoption and even taking Justin to court. I tried to maintain peace for Brady's sake, assuring Dan and Michelle that our commitment to Brady's relationship with them would never waver. Despite this, they persisted in their efforts to block the adoption, even going so far as to question Justin's suitability as a father. Their claims that he was only after Brady's trust fund were baseless and hurtful. For context, Aiden's death was the result of an intoxicated driving accident. I filed a lawsuit against the driver and sued them for the damages resulting from my role as a single parent due to their negligence. All the compensation was placed into a trust for Brady, inaccessible until he turns 25. The overseer of the trust is also Aiden's sister, making it unlikely she'd relinquish control to Justin, who has his own financial resources. The judge dismissed the case for these reasons. In court, they hurled various insults at Justin and attempted to besmirch his character, labeling him a child stealer, among other things. This came after years of professing their love for him and endorsing him as a perfect match for me, as testified by Aiden's sister in court. However, she later confessed to concocting these claims to thwart the adoption, admitting they never truly believed in it. Despite their opposition, the adoption eventually went through last year, albeit with prolonged legal proceedings and additional fees. Dan and Michelle have since come to terms with the situation, though I remain cautious, not entrusting them alone with Brady lest they malign Justin again. While Justin maintains a polite demeanor around them for Brady's sake, he keeps his guard up, no longer as warm and welcoming as before. He's understandably resentful of the emotional toll their actions inflicted on us. During their recent visit to see Brady, Justin remained courteous but reserved. Michelle later expressed feeling hurt by Justin's apparent lack of effort. I reminded her that his changed behavior is a consequence of their actions in court, despite their subsequent apologies. Dan accused me of insensitivity for not siding with Michelle, citing their past actions. Brady's aunt reassured me that Justin and I are justified in our stance. I find myself torn between conflicting loyalties, unsure of the right course of action. Am I wrong for asserting to my former mother-in-law that she shouldn't expect the same relationship with my husband as before, without threatening to sever ties altogether? I truly believe that their change of heart is genuine. They've come to realize that while Aiden will always hold a special place as Brady's father, it's equally important for Brady to have someone actively present in his life to fulfill that paternal role. Moreover, they understand the significance of Brady's desire to share our surname, indicating a shift in their perspective. However, I don't think they fully comprehend the extensive emotional toll that the court proceedings have taken on us. It's truly astonishing that they have the audacity to demand more from Justin after all we've been through. They should consider themselves fortunate that we haven't severed ties altogether. Personally, I find it quite incredulous, and I would likely respond with disbelief if faced with such a request. The trust between us has been severely shattered and may never be fully repaired. Some bridges, once burned, remain irreparable. They cannot simply expect to return to the status quo after putting us through such prolonged legal battles. Their actions have not only strained our relationship, but have also estranged their own daughter. An apology, no matter how sincere, cannot magically mend the broken trust and erase the pain they have caused. Shifting gears, I, a 27-year-old woman, find myself in a bit of a dilemma. I've been seeing this guy for a few months, and we decided to go to a fancy restaurant for a date. Initially, I had planned to wear a lovely dark blue dress that I often reserve for special occasions. However, he requested that I wear a different white dress, which I had shown him previously, as it complemented his attire. This white dress holds significant sentimental value to me, as it was a gift from my late grandmother and holds considerable emotional weight. So I was hesitant but agreed, with the condition that we avoid places where I might damage the dress. He mentioned going clubbing after dinner, which is why I expressed my concerns about potentially ruining it. He assured me we'd only go to dinner, and I could change afterward. However, the evening took a disastrous turn when he accidentally spilled red wine all over my dress. He received an unexpected call, and while trying to mute his phone, his elbow knocked over his glass, soaking the lap area of my dress. Despite his apologies and my attempt to remain composed, I was devastated. I had explicitly emphasized the importance of being careful with the dress. Later, I asked if he'd be willing to contribute to the cleaning or replacement costs, which amounted to $100 for professional cleaning to remove the stains. To my surprise, he became defensive, arguing that it was an accident and that I was unreasonable for expecting him to pay. He even suggested it was my fault for wearing the dress out, knowing the risk. While I understand accidents happen, the dress held sentimental value for me, and the financial loss was significant. His refusal to take any responsibility and shifting the blame onto me left me questioning his reaction. Am I wrong for expecting him to share the cost? No, you're not wrong. He should have offered to cover the entire cleaning cost without you having to ask. Yes, it was accidental, but that doesn't absolve him of responsibility. His unwillingness to even cover half of the expense speaks volumes about his character. Moreover, his attempts to shift the blame onto you are manipulative and unfair. It's unfortunate that this incident has revealed his true colors, but it's better to realize now than later. It might be time to reconsider the future of this relationship. I hope the cleaners can restore your dress to its original condition. It might be best to let go of the guy and cover the cost yourself. In the grand scheme of things, ending this failed relationship only costs you $100. I don't understand the mindset that accidents absolve someone of responsibility. It's also unfair for him to blame you for wearing the dress out when he specifically asked you to. Imagine if he tried using that defense for causing a car accident or making a mistake at work. Actions have consequences. The real issue here is that he won't even contribute $50 toward fixing the problem. If I truly cared about someone, I'd be willing to meet halfway in situations like this. At the very least, I wouldn't risk losing a good relationship over such a small amount of money. Lose that loser. As for my own situation, I'm 19 years old and bear a striking resemblance to my late maternal grandmother. She passed away when my mom was just a child, leaving her deeply traumatized by both her behavior and her death. My aunt, who was too young to remember her, pointed out the resemblance when I was 6 years old. She showed me childhood photos that highlighted the similarities between us. Despite the resemblance, my mom has always made me feel loved and accepted, never once making me feel inadequate or flawed. I could sense that something wasn't right, especially when I noticed the sadness in her eyes whenever she glanced at me. My suspicions grew when I overheard her confide in my dad about the inner struggle she faced on certain days, seeing her own mother's reflection in me. Things took a more concrete turn when I was 12, and my aunt took it upon herself to use me as a means to hurt my mom. She secretly took me to get my hair dyed, going against my mom's wishes, and insisted on me going blonde instead of the pink hair I desired. It was then that I realized my mom's mother was a blonde, a fact that became glaringly obvious when I saw the look in my mom's eyes upon seeing my new hair color. Prior to this incident, there were other subtle attempts by my aunt, such as buying me clothes similar to what my mom's mother would have worn. She even bestowed upon me a nickname that my grandmother had been given by some individuals in her life, a name my mom despised. Upon realizing her manipulative tactics, I confronted her and made it clear that I wouldn't be falling for her schemes any longer. Despite this, she persisted in her attempts, prompting me to confide in my dad. He intervened and instructed my aunt to cease her interference. We didn't hear from her for years until Grandpa's birthday just before New Year's, when she resurfaced and tried to resume her manipulative behavior, urging me to change my appearance and mannerisms once again. In response, I confronted her publicly, exposing her past actions and her current attempts to meddle in my life. While she was forced to leave the gathering, she couldn't resist hurling insults at me before departing. Despite her accusations of me ruining the party, I firmly believe that I was justified in standing up to her manipulative behavior. You were essentially fulfilling her twisted desires and allowing her to enact some sort of vengeance against your mom. If she felt humiliated by everyone knowing about her cruel manipulation, then perhaps it's time for her to reflect on her actions or seek therapy for whatever unresolved childhood issues she holds against your mom. Or, if she's not willing to change, simply continue to ignore her existence. It'll likely bother her more than any response you could give. I respectfully disagree with you and your aunt, both for different reasons. Your aunt's behavior is reprehensible. She seems to derive pleasure from causing pain, particularly to your mom. As for you, while I understand your anger, your outburst may have inadvertently made things harder for your mom. She might blame herself for your actions. It's essential to distance yourself from your aunt, block her on social media, and minimize interactions with her family. I'm a 24-year-old male, and my girlfriend, Jess, 23, and I have been together for about 4 years. Due to my participation in a 2-semester exchange program abroad, we've been doing long distance for the past 6 months. Before we started dating, Jess and my good friend Mike had a mutual interest in each other, though the extent of their relationship was unclear to me, and frankly, I wasn't interested. The issue arose recently when both Jess and Mike attended a New Year's party thrown by a mutual friend. During a FaceTime conversation with Jess the following day, she casually mentioned that she had been sitting sideways on a couch, with her feet resting on Mike's thigh. Upon hearing this, I reacted with immediate discomfort and perhaps an overly angry response, expressing my displeasure at her behavior. She sat there, tears streaming down her face, unable to comprehend why I was upset, expressing her frustration and declaring her desire to cease communication with me. It's been a few days since that incident, and although we've both chosen to overlook the disagreement, I can't shake the feeling that perhaps I reacted too strongly. Was I wrong to feel aggrieved by her actions? Or am I simply out of touch with societal norms? In my perspective, her act of sitting in such an intimate manner without invitation, especially with someone she had a prior romantic involvement with, struck a nerve. While I generally trust her and have never questioned her behavior when alone, this particular occurrence has prompted some doubts. I wouldn't impose restrictions on her whereabouts, recognizing that it's not my place to dictate her actions. However, I find myself pondering the appropriateness of her conduct. Was I unjustified in my reaction? And should I still anticipate an apology from her? You're overreacting. The situation doesn't warrant shouting or anger. It's possible that you're not as comfortable with her past as you believe, and it's prudent to address this before it escalates, especially if they maintain a close friendship. Don't hold out for an apology from her. Criticizing someone as an idiot for feeling uncomfortable when their partner places their legs on another person's thigh is unwarranted. If the roles were reversed and a girl wrote about her boyfriend's ex, most would agree she has every right to feel uneasy and reconsider the relationship. Wanting to pay only for what you ordered, particularly given significant income differences, is perfectly reasonable. I prefer to pay for my own meal without splitting the bill. Yesterday, when we went out, my friends ordered dishes costing around $30 each, while I opted for a house salad, resulting in a total of around $12 for me. However, when they instructed the server to split the bill, I didn't want to argue about it again. Instead, I asked the server to add an entree and dessert for me to take home, increasing my bill to around $30. When my friends questioned the price hike, I explained that I was getting additional food, which led to another argument. Now, they think I'm being unreasonable. I stand by my decision to pay only for what I ordered, regardless of how much I make. I've made it clear from the start that I prefer separate bills. If my friends are upset, I'll ask them why, as they're not footing the bill for my food. If they continue to disregard my viewpoint, perhaps it's time to find new friends who respect my preferences. It seems like the issue of splitting the bill has arisen multiple times with this group, so I was aware it might happen again. While I believe I'm justified in wanting to pay for only my meal, ordering additional food when I knew the bill would be split again might not have been the best decision. However, being labeled as the jerk for standing my ground seems unfair. Ultimately, if I don't want to adhere to the group's rules, I should refrain from dining out with them. It's not about affordability, but rather about principle. If it's not fair, then I won't participate. Perhaps staying in and enjoying takeout alone would be a better option,